Hi, everybody. It's Erica from In the Company of Cards. Welcome to Sunday Conversations. Can you believe who my guest is?
Oh, come on.
Maryann from Revealing Light Tarot. I am just beside myself. I am such a fangirl of her work. And
Well,
I'm thrilled to have you here, Maryann. And I read your book cover to cover, and I totally want to talk about that because I don't think it's separate or incidental from the other things that we want to talk about together.
yeah.
But it's brilliant. So first off, thank you so much for being someone whom we Americans can turn to for solace, for encouragement, for guidance, and for a clear and steady uh, perspective, right, on what's going on for us. And as you know, we just mentioned this before we hit the record button. What goes on for us affects the rest of the world. And
Yeah.
it's really important. I just want to say to my American viewers, we they don't call us ugly Americans for nothing. For example, how many people speak a second language or a third language, right?
Mm.
How many people know what's going on in Australian politics or in the politics of our neighbors to the north or to the south?
Mm.
It's
I
really
want to say, I want to say thank you for having me on the show, and I want to say I don't normally do this because of my health, and Erica knows all about my limitations and energy wise and stuff. But when you reached out, Erica, I went and had a look at your channel. I looked at, I read a sample of your wonderful book too.
uh,
And I thought this is somebody that I would be very, um, I want to do this, and I wanted to be on your particular podcast. So your work needs to be acknowledged and seen as well, and your expertise with across your divination needs to be lifted and raised up to. So after this, I will put out a community note to come and have a look at your channel. And I just, yeah, I want to thank you for having me on your show. As to your point about things permeating over here, I sometimes look at what's going on in your country and mostly I'm steady and that's what I do. I'm fairly stoic type of person. Even before my cancer diagnosis, I was stoic. And put into those roles because of that stoicism. However, sometimes I look, particularly this morning, and my heart just sank as we find out that Elon Musk is now and his tech staff are trying to take control of US government payment systems. And we'll talk about that after we speak about the book. But you've read it.
okay.
I'm
Let me
open
tell
to
you
your
about the book.
questions.
Okay. Let me tell you something. I thought it was really brilliant on so many levels. So, okay. So here's now I don't know what you're going to think about what I have to say, but the first part one, is about Maryann's cancer journey.
Should just hold it up.
And
That's it.
yes, it's oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, wait. It's called Revealing Light: How Cancer Illuminated My Divine Blueprint. Yeah, we got to get that out. I got the Kindle version because I wanted to get it right away because I wanted to read it. But you can also get it obviously in hardcover. And I really highly recommend it. I recommend it on a lot of different levels. But first of all, I want to talk about the first part. It was clear to me as a writer, somebody who's taught writing,
Mm.
all of that, that a lot
Mm.
of what you did in that first part was a lot of what was written in the first part was written at the time,
It
during
was.
the time that you were going through this journey. And I also suspect that you might not have looked too hard at it after the fact. I think you may have sort of taken it and said, okay, that part's done, and let me go on to the rest of it. And
Mm.
actually liked that. There was a rawness to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I wrote it, um, I called it roughly edited. And I
Yeah.
think that was sort of stylistically technically really effective
mm, mm,
because because I mean, I
mm.
could feel in every moment what you were going through.
Yeah.
And I think had it been overly edited or, you know, prettied up or whatever, that the force of that would not have hit as hard as it did. And
It was raw.
it was
Yeah.
raw. So I thought, okay, I didn't know. So I thought, okay, so the whole book's going to be like this. So, girl,
No.
put your
Mm.
seatbelt on, get yourself together, because this is going to be a bumpy ride from beginning to end. But then I get to the next part. Okay, this was so cool. So, Maryann, what you did was you used astrology. You talked
Mm.
about Chiron, talk about divination, but astrology. So we get a really bird's eye picture of your chart, and we
Yeah.
get to see sort of in a retrospective way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How astrology is, you hit the nail on the head, is a blueprint for
Mm.
our lives. I mean, and I don't
Absolutely.
know I know my rising sign, I know my I know the basics, but and I know where my Chiron is, I know all of that, but it was so powerful because what she did without saying, so listen, I pretend I am an attorney for the defense and my client is astrology and I'm going to convince you of why astrology is like a real thing that you really need to pay attention to. You didn't have to do any of that preamble. You just showed us and my jaw dropped. So where the first part, my shoulders are up about around my ears, feeling what you're feeling. In the second part, my jaw dropped because I'm like, oh my God, this, I mean, you can't miss it. You cannot miss it.
Mm.
And I think it makes the reader say, well, wait a minute. Yeah, where is my Chiron? And what is my this and in that? And
Mm.
then how can I use that information as again, a blueprint, a map for how to live my life in a better way? So
Mm.
I love that
Mm.
part. Then, just when you think, okay, so you were ready for part one because you got through, then part two, well, then you changed it, you changed lanes again.
That's
And
what I do.
and oh my God, I mean, there is, I mean, I hope you don't mind that I'm telling people,
Oh,
giving them people.
no, I'm just laughing because that's what I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then we have a section on channeling and mediumship. And I love how you used tarot with that because I do mediumship as well through the cards only, through the cards.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
And Maryann channels Nostradamus,
Mm.
Edgar Casey, uh,
Mm.
um, wait, don't tell me Freud. That was so interesting.
Oh,
Freud
yeah.
and the beloved Robin Williams.
Yeah. Well, that was
And
sad. Mm.
it was very sad, but I'll tell you, like the Freud part. I feel like I don't want to give everything away, but the understanding that each of these people had about like their aha moments from where they are now, right? Giving us
Mm. Mm.
about the concept of time. I thought that was
Mm.
fascinating.
Mm.
That Freud, who looks at things a very sort of top-down way and
Yep.
everything begins in childhood, you're channeling him and he's going, oh, I didn't know.
Mm.
It's not like
Mm.
that. It's not like
Mm.
that. And I think he would have been fascinated with the field of epigenetics.
I think if we were to sit down and interview Freud now,
Yeah.
in with everything that because he, like us, was a human being and learning. Also, want to quickly just say you kind of put a light bulb in my head as well as you were talking. We are part of the collective
Boom.
consciousness, just
Exactly.
as everyone else who's gone before us, who will come in front of us, are part of the collective consciousness. And there is knowledge available to all of us if we can get to that place and allow it to come through.
Exactly.
And nobody is studying. Science doesn't measure what sort of downloads are coming from us, whether they be from passed over loved ones, whether they come from guides, whether they come from the energetic imprints that are left by the leaders and the movers and the shakers and the warriors that have gone before us. It's that energetic vibration that I feel we are all able to access if we can get to that place. And I mean, maybe that's another book. I don't know. But
No, but
anyway,
when you know about the work, of course, of Dion Fortune, right, who during World War II sort of banded with other witches, right, and raised and energy workers and warlocks. Anyway, raised a cone of protection around England to keep
yeah,
it
yes,
from the Nazis. Well, I've thought about that quite
yeah,
a bit. And I
yeah,
thought, could a thing like that happen nowadays? Probably not, because we're so disparately intentioned. And
yeah.
but reading your book, I'm going to tell part of why I'm so hyper is that I said, wait a minute, I actually think it is possible. I do
Hmm,
think it's possible with
right.
people who are, again, sort of internationally minded, uh,
Mm,
uh, of good intention.
okay. Yep.
You and I are gonna talk about this another time
Yeah. Okay.
off
All
air.
right.
But I think, one of the things that I've loved is that I have these Sunday conversations and people watch and they say, we need more of this. I think part of why we're not having what you're talking about hasn't happened is that people don't know where to go. They don't know whom to listen to. They don't know what to do with they don't know what to do. They don't know what to
Mm,
do. Sometimes, though, in listening to people like you and me talk,
mm.
light bulbs can go off.
That's exactly right. And for you and me too, as
Yes,
we're talking.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, reading your book, a lot of light bulbs went off for me. I thought it was beautiful. But let me just say, that's not all, because then
Oh.
Maryann sort of gives us I'm going to say, prescriptive things that we can do. I mean,
Mm,
you do that when you talk. Well, I'm not going to, I don't want to tell people too much, but and I don't know, maybe I'm not a great person to do a commercial because I give too much away. I'm like, here, you want to taste? But I think it is, speaking of taste, it gave me so much food for thought about
mm,
what's possible. I don't know if you know who my partner is, my current partner, Nancy Hendrickson, and she wrote Ancestral Tarot. And it made me think about your work and sort of calling back the ancestors forward to help us with all of this. For
yes.
tarot.
It's interesting in astrology. I'd like to experiment a little bit more, but in the charts that I do, and I have limited time, so I can't, there's only so much I can do. But I'm always learning, and I'm the student. I'll always be a student of astrology. And when people say, "Oh, well, you're an astrologer," no, I'm a student astrologer. In
Mhm.
10 years, I'll still be a student
Mhm.
astrologer because there's just so much to learn. But the charts that I've done are on family and friends, and I don't do personal readings anymore. I just don't have the
Mhm.
energy for it. But I see the same signs of the parents and the grandparents manifesting in the natal charts of the generations down the line in ways that we have that ancestral stuff coming through, whether it's learning, whether it's gifts, whether it's carrying on the battle or carrying on the legacy. I think there's a whole body of work around ancestors that should be done in a
Absolutely.
divination and an esoteric and a metaphysical way. Um, it's quite fascinating to see how it manifests. And
Absolutely.
I can also sit with people and say, well, your father was XYZ, and I bet he was an Aries, wasn't he? And they go, yeah, why is that? Because I can see in their chart where the legacy is and what their lesson could be going forward because I know them intimately because they're family or they're friends or whatever. And so that makes that reading a lot more powerful for them to start to think about how we change what some of the things that our parents might not have got right or didn't go far enough. How can we not repeat
Hmm.
those, in some cases, those mistakes, but in a positive way? How can we enhance our strengths? How can we know what our weaknesses are, but then enhance them? And because I've been in so many well, not so many careers, but I went from being an editor,
Hmm.
first woman editor of a regional daily, um, just outside of Sydney. I went to the government to work in government. Now, I don't know what the American government is like, but the Australian government is extremely hierarchical. So I went from getting awards for campaigning to close your mouth if you don't have anything to say. Um, what's your tone? Uh,
Ooh.
and don't ever do this in that situation because of that. There were so many hidden protocols. And at the time I railed against that. My jaw dropped. It was total utter culture shock. However, in time, because I had to stay there, I had a family to feed, and I learned to understand what was going on around me in that very sophisticated, silent way.
Hmm.
And I learned to manage upwards, I guess. But I also learned to pick my fights.
Yep.
And so I did pick fights there. Not pick them, but fight the fight that I knew that was worth fighting, that I wouldn't lose and fall on my face with. So the government taught me a lot, a lot. And during that time, my weaknesses, and this is where I'm going, my weaknesses, I mean, always, always good in the arts, always good in literature, always good in writing. Writing was my trade. But I learned to then master statistics, research, and I learnt to integrate all of that through a real birth of fire type of process. And then I later went on and did a social welfare degree, and it was in research. That was the major. So at the practical level, it is about being brave enough to confront our weaknesses, but also melding all of that with our strengths. And I think I would not have done that had I not been, had I not gone through the cancer journey. Was that journey where it was raw, it was learning, it was brutal, it was scary. That's the first part. That's the part that I think a lot of your country people are going through right now.
Hmm.
It's scary. This terrible, terrible thing has happened. And there's a grieving and there's a disassociation and there's wanting to hide under the covers. There's what I can't do it anymore. I can't. Like that's what people are saying. I can't engage with this stuff. But it is, even that is a process that will lead to something because people will learn to fight effectively. They will learn to pick those battles that they should, and they will learn to find ways of trying to get through this terrible,
Now,
terrible
I
period.
think for a lot of Americans, white Americans, I'm going to say, they didn't even understand. They thought everything was fine in America, and I think that there's a lot of shock and awe. You've heard that expression be used a lot lately. And a lot, I mean, I see a lot of readers, for example, online saying
Mm.
things like, um, uh, well, they thought that Kamala was going to be the one who was inaugurated. Then that didn't happen. Now they pushed the goalpost back and they say, no, it's going to happen in March. And I'm
I
like,
won't indulge in
what
that.
are you
I've been
talking
very,
about?
very, very strong.
It's
Don't.
terrible.
Just don't.
It's terrible because I think, as shocked as we were all on the 6th of November, we've at least had from the 6th of November to present to sort of adjust and get our heads right. But there's a whole swath of people who are still engaging in this magical thinking. who will say to people like me, You need to give us hope. What about hope?" And I will say that as a Black person in this country, we've been through bad
Mm,
things before.
mm, mm, mm,
And we've learned how to, some of us, look them in the eye. And
mm,
Martin Luther King would say, the arc of justice, the moral arc bends towards justice. It bends very slowly, but people think because they've been so conditioned to be narcotized to all of this that
mm.
they should push a lever in a voting booth and
Interesting. Mm,
poof, everything is fine. So a lot
mm,
of people, a lot of women, I would suspect, particularly, said, I pulled the lever. I did the thing. Why didn't what I want happen?
mm,
They don't understand that when you talk about an arc of moral arc bending slowly, it could last your whole
mm.
life.
That's it. That's it. That's it. And that again, the second part of the book, I get through the treatment and all of a sudden I realize that the battle that I fought so hard to get back to my normal life was lost
Right.
because I didn't get back to my normal life. However, what replaced that was a, such a strong connection with spirit.
Yep.
That was always there through my life, but it smacked it into my face to understand that it was a reality. It was some fairy magical thing. It was the end product of having faith. And
Yes.
so I then went on in the second and the third part of the book to try and show people how I began to live very, very spiritually. And this brings me to your comment about what can people do? Why should they have faith? Why should they have hope? I think we're moving into the nodes have moved into Pisces, extremely spiritual psychic
Mhm.
sign. Um, and Virgo, the South Node, where we've come from, what we've learned, if we can take what we've learned, is extremely hardworking and detailed sign, but also Virgos question their self-worth. Pisces, we get the opportunity to dream the outcome that we want.
Mhm.
But so the future is operating again with Pluto in Aquarius, again about
Right.
understanding the underbelly, but also understanding the ability. Aquarius is a humanitarian sign.
That's right.
What we're seeing is inhumanity, but so we're seeing this terrible room that we don't want to be in that is graphic and horrible. But what are we going to do now?
Well,
And
first
so
you
any
have to look at it. That's the first thing.
we
We
do, and
had
we
an American expression, well, it used to be, it was a Black American expression, woke. Woke was a really good thing until the right decided it's bad. And so a woke agenda, that's a pejorative. Why would that be a pejorative? In line with what you're saying, if we wake up, then we can see what we're looking at and then move from
exactly.
there. Yeah,
Exactly. You got to get above the room to
that's right.
see what's in the room.
That's right. That's
We
right.
don't want to be in there, but we've got the ability to get up above it. And that is the well, I won't say it won't go left, right, or anything, but that's humanity's gift.
Yeah.
That's what humanity can do. My parents used to talk about the First and Second World War. Grandparents talked about the First World War, brutal, brutal, terrible, horrible war, fought in the trenches, terrible,
Yeah.
unspeakable violence. The Second World War, in Australia, the Japanese came into our harbour. That's how close it was. Um, but they would talk about the war, and you wonder now when we're confronted with what's going on in our world now. These people faced the threat of an annihilation.
Yeah. Yeah.
My father was in New Guinea. My poor uncle was in the Middle East for and terrible, terrible, terrible violence there. Yeah. So, time and time again in history, we see, I put a quote out the other day, Nero fiddles while Rome burns. Now, Trump reminds me of Nero. They must reminds me. But time and time again, we see from the ashes humanity's gift and ability to rise up.
Yeah.
So when people say, "Where's the hope?" I can't give you hope. You have to find that. That's hard work. You have to do that work. I can, I can stand shoulder to shoulder. I won't hold your hand, but I'll stand sh shoulder to shoulder with you while you
Mhm.
do that.
Right.
Um, but
Well,
it's a
and you have to
process.
find the courage to be willing to do that work. I think
Yeah.
people are still in the process of that. The speaking part in a partisan way. People are saying, "Well, where are the Democrats?" And you know what the Democratic response was? They said, "We need some more time. Give us some more time." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Time? Time? I mean, you've had at least, at the very least, from November 6th until now. We saw the first train wreck. How did you not plan for what's coming?" So,
you
we talk about Pluto and Aquarius. I don't think that it's going to be political parties that necessarily salvage
know,
things.
people.
People.
It's people.
Hmm.
When straight after the election, I did a reading where I it came sort of very briefly, sometimes they do, and I said I wouldn't even be surprised if at some point Republicans turn against him in
They will.
terms of the Congress.
They will.
And I said it could get so, so bad that the only way out of the mess is for Republicans and Democrats to come together
That's what
and
will
get
happen.
rid of him.
That's what will happen. Look, the image that comes to my mind all the time is the Bastille. Here you'll have poor white people who don't have, anything, two sticks to rub together, but they have the consolation, they're told by the oligarchical branch, that at least you're white like we are. And so even though you're not rich, you're kind of rich because you're white and I'm rich. And people have bought that. But what
Yeah,
happens when
that's
you
what
really
Nazis
have,
do.
yeah, what happens when you truly have nothing? You lose your job, you lose your health care. You might say to yourself, wait, who is actually like me? Maybe it's not the oligarch who has the same color skin as me. Maybe it's my brown or black neighbor next door. And I think that that will be the Bastille that rises up. I think that
Mm,
the political class is too cowardly. They say absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think we're seeing a lot of that.
yeah, yeah,
And people are
absolutely.
just falling in line, falling in line, falling in line. But I do think there will be a point where people will say no more. The
Mm,
politicians will either get rid of him or be gotten rid of another way. The military
mm.
cannot be thrilled with Hegseth coming in,
No,
right?
no,
So
no.
I think that he, meaning 47, has arrows pointed at him from every
Mm,
direction, including
mm,
way closer to him than he realizes. I also
mm,
think Musk is his days are numbered as someone with power because now he's messing in other countries' elections. I mean, I
mm,
see him being deported
mm,
back to South Africa and let them handle him.
mm,
I
mm,
think 47 will not be in past, I'm going to say 18 months. And I
yeah.
think he's in great
Yep.
danger in late March, beginning of April. I think there could be
Yes.
another attempt.
Yes. Well, astrology backs both of those up. The could be yeah, great danger March, April, could even be, as I keep saying, another assassination attempt. But
Right.
it's more than that. It's more than that. There's something well, when I say more, what else is there? But if it's not that, it's something else very, very bad.
Yeah.
Then I watched another astrologer, shout out to Denise Siegel, who
Oh, yeah.
said
Denise and I are good friends. Yes.
yeah, yeah. She looked at the cabinet members' natal charts and transits around early 27, and there's something there that it happens to all of them. So we can speculate and say that could be this
Mhm.
removal that we see. If he is still alive by then, it's not a full term. It's not a full
No,
term.
but the thing is, that is actually it's comfort, but it's cold comfort
It
because of
is.
Project 2025.
Well, here again, the stuff ups, the other thing I saw was this massive, massive failure of their attempts on a grand scale.
Exactly.
The government freeze, how well thought up was that? I mean, they've had months, as the media says, years to get this right, and they came in with such a blunt instrument
Right.
and caused so many issues that the
Right.
courts blocked it anyway. This encroachment or this brutal way that Musk is trying to get into people's financial payments and data and whatever, that's going to go through the courts again. I mean, as I said, civil suits will be rife. I don't think we're not even thinking what is likely coming down the pipe at them.
That's right.
It's just
That's right.
massive.
Right. From every angle. It's not even down the pipe. It's down the pipes. They're gonna
Yes,
they're gonna be tsunamied and they're not gonna know what hit them. And we're gonna be participating in that. I mean, we're
that's it.
part of that, you know?
Yeah. I think also we have a tendency, someone on Blue Sky, shout out to Blue Sky. I mean, it has no algorithm, so that makes it worth it anyway.
Yeah.
Um, Someone on Blue Sky said we should no longer be asking what's the worst he can do, but how are we going to fix this? What are the solutions?
Right.
And that's what we need to hear from independents, never Trumpers, Republicans who are aghast, Democrats right across the board. People power of every persuasion needs to come and look at what are we going to do about this? What
Right.
is the fix? And let's get started. Honestly, every time I see a Democrat on a podcast now, because they're going podcast, not legacy media, or they're going there too. But it's like, don't complain. Don't tell us what he's doing. We know that. Tell us
What
what
are you gonna
you're
do?
doing.
That's right. I think they don't know. I think they're,
No, they
you know,
don't know. They
and so,
don't.
I mean, I look at certain countries in Europe and I say, you know what, they've got it right with these
Yes.
coalition governments. I mean, it makes so
Yep.
much sense, but we're so wedded to this
Two
two-party.
parties.
We're as wedded to that as we are to the Second Amendment and guns.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's so juvenile
Well,
and short-sighted.
why couldn't Hakim Jeffries stand up and say, until they stop raiding our people's financial payments and systems, until they stop trying to usurp the Congress's power of the purse, we will not support any legislation that requires a two-thirds majority.
Right.
Like, why can't they do
It's an
that?
easy fix. Exactly. Why not? Maybe because Pelosi told him not to do it. And has the young guard been prepared, to take over from the old guard? That's the other thing with politics.
Oh,
People stay forever. And I mean, I'm 68, so I have no room to talk about, I mean, I'm not ageist, but I do
yeah,
think you have to prepare people who are
yeah,
coming up for
yeah.
how government works and what the instruments of government are that you can use. And I don't think that that's been done.
Well, how about defensive powers? How about prepare them give them the toolkit to fight back,
That's right. That's right.
you know, honestly, because there are legal, I mean, it'll be left to the ACLU to go and sue them for the breach of privacy and whatever else. What's the DNC doing?
Exactly. Figure out
Where's that?
who their head is going to be and deciding that they'll probably go with a guy from the Midwest, a white guy,
Mm,
and that
yeah.
way, oh, we're fighting fire with fire. Well, not really. Are you really? I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was interesting. I read a something, I can't remember where it was, within one of the media stories that I read, and it could have been New Republic, but don't quote me. But it's when Trump first, we'll call him, what, 45, whatever you want to.
Yeah.
What do you refer to him as?
I called him 45, but then when he got elected, I said, there are a lot of ways that he got elected. There was a lot of nefarious stuff that went on, but it's also true that 47 to 52% of white women voted for him. So I'm going to
Okay,
call him what he is in the moment, 47.
And 90 million people sat on, of eligible voters, 90 million eligible voters sat on their
And
couches
sat
and
on their
didn't
behind and
turn
didn't
up.
even go vote. Yep. So you
And
buy it, you bought it, you what is you broke it, you bought it.
mm,
Therefore, 47 it is. Here you go.
yeah, and that unfortunately means that the people that voted for Vice President Kamala Harris will got burnt in the process.
But you know what? You bring this up in the book in a way that I thought was really good, where you mentioned it earlier, where you talk about the collective
Collective.
fabric
Mm.
and the fact that even 47, much as we would not like that to be the case and could take some sewing shears and cut him out, he is part of the collective.
That's it. That's it. That's it. And there is if you want to talk, look at it spiritually, there is a gaping gap between people all over the world and it's manifested through politics. There's no unity. So there's something in the collective that has to come back
Needs to be
together. But
sewn up. You made a
that's
really
co
good point in the book. You said, um, what was it? Wait, hold on. The fat collective? I don't know. But the point being that, oh, where we've got two camps. It's not anymore. Listen, I've got mine. You take yours. I'll do me. You do you. It's not like that anymore. Instead, it's I'm going to do me. Oh, and by the way, I want yours too. I want
yeah.
yours too. And that's not going to work. So, yes, how we stitch up the fabric, because here's the thing. It, it's one piece of cloth. So the rest of us, those who voted for Harris, we have to wait for the slow ones to come along.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate as well. But
Really is.
that's our job. That's what
That's
we
our job.
signed up to do as part of if you believe believe in reincarnation, we part of our learning as more, well, how can I put it? As people that have already learnt that lesson, which is why we're there, is to understand how we react to those that haven't and how
Exactly.
we impacted. And that was behind that vision that I talked to Linda G about the other day, was where I saw the gun pointed and the dove coming, or it wasn't dove, bird came and turned the gun on on us. And then the iconic kind of imagery of the cross, Jesus on the cross and the people in Bennett with the light coming through. Now, those images were presented to me because I was raised a Catholic.
Right.
I'm not a Catholic, but I was
Right.
raised a Catholic. I'm not don't I don't go to church and I don't subscribe to any church. I'm a spiritual person. But that showed me a specific example of when I was judgmental and to someone who was nasty to someone that I loved on their deathbed. And rather than me understanding what was going on with her because of her, that she was in such a state to be as nasty as that, and that what had happened to her to make her like that, the tragedies that had driven her to that, I immediately fought back against her and I didn't forgive her. And I then became the one that needed forgiveness.
I
And
get
so
I get that. I wrote
that's,
about that on Substack more than once. I have a Substack also called In the Company of Cards. And one of the things that I said is it's going to be for the rest of us to bite our tongues and fight the urge to say, "You dumb idiot. We told you so." You
I
can't
don't always succeed.
you can't that's not helpful. And I was raised Episcopalian. But my father was a Methodist minister. So how did that happen? Well, he wanted to be an Episcopal priest, went to divinity school, the whole bit. Then he got engaged to my mother. So he was white, my mother was black. The bishop said to him, "If you marry her, you'll never be ordained in this church." So he married her, didn't get ordained, became a Methodist. I didn't know this story at all. Years later, I now go to divinity school to become an Episcopal priest.
Oh, wow.
And I'm told,
I
Erica,
could, yeah.
There's
Go
no
on.
question that we need you as a priest in this church. The question is, do we want you? Are we ready for you? Come back in 2 years. And this was in Boston, which is a very stratified city. And I said, no, I won't be back. So I also am spiritual, not religious. So I
Yes.
will say this, the way I think about it, though, in that kind of mixed context, is I'll say, if we all come from God, we all come from spirit, right? We're the stuff of stars. If we come from spirit and our whole goal, all of these incarnations, is to return to source,
Mm, mm,
that, I mean, that source will not be even whole and complete until we are all returned to
mm,
source.
mm,
That includes you know who.
mm, mm,
And so, I tell myself all the time, you know who was somebody's baby, was somebody's
mm,
child.
mm,
Um, and who knows what his soul contract is?
mm, mm.
Perhaps his soul contract is to show us who we are, how bad we can be, how low we can go.
Or how much we do not know our self-worth.
Exactly.
Because we are
Yes.
being abused. We are
Yes.
being abused.
Yes.
And we are in that room and we're not able to get above it yet.
That's right. That's
And I
right.
know that's such cold comfort to people, but practically speaking, he's going to be so bad and it's going to be such a train wreck. And you already know that. You don't need to be psychic to know that it will bring people together
Yep.
because otherwise they're not going to survive.
Exactly. Have you read the book? There's a book, I forget the guy's name, Sapiens, Sapiens.
No, no.
Okay, I got to send you that book. I'll get it. You know what? I'll do it. I'll send it to you through Amazon
Yeah.
because that'll be like the easy way to do it. Okay, great book.
Do you want to do any cards?
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you
let's do
want to
cards.
throw
Cards.
because on the immediate threat of this Musk going into the
Oh,
people's payment systems, will
all
that work? Will he be stopped?
right. Okay.
You go first and I'll come on while
All right.
you're
All right. So we're looking at now Musk. The card that I use for Musk is
mm,
young man in my deck. And when I find that card, I will show you why. I know he's not young, but there's a specific reason that I use him. So I'm just gonna cut the deck
mm.
and then look for this young man who will stand for Elon Musk. Now,
Ooh.
I use him. This is my deck, by the way, my Lenormand. So, you know, I love this card as a rule. But the reason that I call it Musk is you see how young he is and you see how exposed his neck is. He
Mm,
believes that the world is his, that he can do anything, that there's nothing that's impossible, that there's nothing that doesn't belong to him. It's this impetuous, now they say he's on the spectrum. I can see why that would be a spectrumy kind of a thing for him to, a way that his spectruminess manifests, but he doesn't, he just, it's like mountain, get out of my way. That's him. That's his energy. All right. And then I'm taking the two cards that come before him. Speaking of mountain, there's a mountain, and the two cards that come after him. Okay. So the cards that I have are the mountain, the bouquet, there's musk, here's the sun, and here's the house. This doesn't look good to me, even though it starts with a mountain, which is an impediment, right?
mm,
He wants to own everybody, everything, whatever. That's the gift for him. That's the prize for him. Here he is in the middle. The thing is, I mean, this is the best card in the deck, they say. This is the White House. I
mm,
think we have to get, I think we have to really feel the pain in a way that no one in the country can misinterpret for pain. That
mm,
no one will be able to say, oh,
mm,
it's not that bad. Oh, no one in the country will be able to do that.
mm,
That there will be resistance, of course, to what he wants to do. But look, I mean, these two cards, the second and the fourth, I can mirror them together, the bouquet and the sun. He could very well bring us really low
Yeah,
before we all wake up.
yeah,
That's what I
yeah,
think. Not good.
yeah. I think that is like a macro look at what happens down the track. He's already doing that in
Yeah.
such in minor ways already. The government shutdown nearly occurred because of him. It's yeah, he all right, let's see. Let's look just a small tarot spread. Will he be stopped from accessing payment systems? Will he be stopped from access? Oh gosh, I got to stop because I do get the clairvoyance as well. There's Saudi Arabia, there's very rich Arab states behind Musk.
Hmm.
I keep seeing Saudi Arabia, whoever it is, very, very, very wealthy Middle East people behind Musk. Whether or not something's going to come out again, sometimes I get these given to me to 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 warn, well, not to warn, to say to people it's going to emerge that he has this tie. But why that comes in relation to the payment system, I don't know. What would they want with information on government, federal government payments? Um, there is like a espionage, I think, thing going on here at a grand
Yes.
scale. All right.
Yes.
So will he be stopped? Well, must be stopped from accessing the social security financial payment system of the US government. Well, must be stopped. Must be stopped. He's evading security detection as well.
Hmm.
Okay, so there we have the money
Yeah.
system here. And there we have the magician reversed, which is not manifesting. So it looks like the signifier cards are pretty good that he will be stopped in some way. And we've got the Five of Swords. Obviously, these cards are no surprise, which is the
Right.
abuse of power. The past we have this is the way people are feeling in the past. We've got to get beyond that. We've got to get beyond that. This is why it's being done so early in his term. We have President Trump in the Emperor
Mhm.
control in the sky. There's a potential for this to work, but I'm not finished yet. And we get the world massive, massive. This is your card for what you're saying, that there's going to be such failure or that it starts a new era.
Yeah.
It's the end of an old cycle. We have the Three of Wands reversed. So it looks like even in the present, lawmakers are gathering to try and stop
To
this.
stop him, right, which would be the mountain.
Yeah, the fear is that he will get access, but Six of Cups, the past, meaning, and the Princess of Swords. And then we get the Hanged Man. So I'm pretty confident he will be stopped, suspended. It goes back in some way to the past. So his plan is stopped in some way. We've got the Wheel of Fortune. God, change. But we've got the deal not done. So someone is going to stop him. He's going to be surprised who it is. It might even be the Congress. Am I reading this correctly? The Hanged Man, first major arcana. Yeah, Ten of Wands. It's no. I don't think he can do it. I think that it's it's not a done deal that he can actually do it. Potentially, if Trump comes in and threatens his Republican, I think the Senate, I think the Congress is very alarmed that Musk has this control, and they're the ones guardrails. Okay, so I'm going to say it's going to be a fight. It's going to be hard, but the guardrails will be restored in relation to that question. But there is a slight potential that Trump intervenes to 47 intervenes to push it through. But this is he's been given the green light to do whatever he wants by this president.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be stopped, but the guardrails will be restored, but it's a struggle. It's a real struggle.
And
So
then
that
what's
means
and then what will be the next thing down the pike? Do you know what I mean? I mean,
that's it.
that,
That's it.
that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had again so many opportunities to straighten up and fly right, and we haven't chosen him.
Why haven't we seen Democratic politicians and the legacy media come out and say that these people have no security clearances and they're breaching privacy, data privacy collection, all sorts of rights. Because when the government collects your data, you have to, there is a, it is, they have a duty of care
Yeah.
to protect that data. So why aren't we hearing that
I'm
conversation
going to
now?
say that I think Rachel Maddow's doing a wonderful job.
She
She's
is,
quite the warrior.
but
Uh,
she's a lone wolf.
she's the lone wolf. And I'll tell you, I think it's cowardice. It's cowardice or desire for proximity to power. And I'm going to say this, and I feel like maybe I heard you say this. There, I mean, I hate to say it, there's something demonic about
Yeah.
47.
Shall
The
we go there? Do you want to go there?
I do want to go there. I think
No, but
that,
let's go there.
yeah, I mean, because it makes, I mean, nothing else makes sense. Now, I don't want to sound like something from the 1600s and say, well, I don't understand this, therefore she's a witch. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that uh, things tend to work according to a certain order, you know, generally speaking. And yet, not for him.
Mm,
I mean, a person couldn't have gotten as low as he got in the past few years.
mm,
And then, poof, he pops up. I think people are afraid of him on that visceral a level that they're,
mm,
even if they won't use the terminology, the people who could stop him are saying, I don't know, is he the devil? Is he, whatever metaphor they want to use. I mean, because he seems unstoppable, and I'm afraid. And I think that fear, I mean, they're cowards is what they are, because it's okay to be afraid. There's nothing wrong with being afraid. It's what do you do in the face of fear, right?
mm.
That determines whether you're a coward or not a coward. I think they're
Yeah.
cowards. And how are you in
There's
government?
yeah.
How did you run? How did you stand for government, right?
If
And
you
but you're a coward.
exactly, exactly. There's a I yeah. Sometimes when I read in this room, the energy, you're an open, you can be an open door. I always put the gatekeepers there to stop
Right.
anything unwanted coming through, and but occasionally there will, and um, it's usually when I'm run down physically that things can. But I had a sense that there was something around that wasn't so good, and so I studied Reiki when I was
Dude.
going through cancer, and so I cleared this room, the whole house. I went around and did the whole house, but particularly focused on this room. The night I did that, I was prompted to do that the night before I'd had a nightmare where uh, well, I should say a couple of nights before that, I was awoken. We have an attic, and I was awoken by the attic door moving like that. And I thought, oh, crikey, this is like some kind of bloody poltergeist in the attic. And then that night, I had this dream of dark hands coming through the ceiling to my bed, hands around, and I was frozen because I was
Right.
being choked. And what I did was I summoned up I put white light down, shot it down the black hands, and they shriveled up and went away. Whether that was metaphorical or whether that actually did happen, I then went and cleared all the rooms and redoubled this, and then I make it a practice to clear the spaces as much as I can. But it took I had to overcome my fear in
Mhm.
order to banish
Right.
that. And
Yeah.
that was very clearly a negative energy. I had to, so again, simply with him, I don't say it lightly, I think he's evil.
He is evil.
And in the same way that Hitler was evil.
Mhm.
But you say that and people go, oh, yeah, yeah, whatever, whatever. But
No.
the other thought is, and we have to overcome our fears. So cowardice is absolutely the worst thing. Take a deep put your chest out and go for it. Regardless, in that moment. It's like what our ancestors did in battle. It's like your ancestors did in their back in their
Bravery.
time.
Yeah,
You have to be prepared to lose your own
exactly.
life
What's the point of your life otherwise?
or your career or
Yeah,
your reputation
that's
or
right.
your power.
That's right.
So
That's right.
many people that he does it to, that they stand up to him and then they lose everything and then become the subject of vendetta and retribution.
A
And so
lot of
again, that is frightening people.
Well, a lot of readers I know who would be on in our space have gone underground. They've closed their channels. They've got because they're afraid that they will be attacked in some way. You know what? I would rather go down in some way than be, I don't know, hidden in in a closet someplace. Because otherwise,
Mm.
what is the point of your life? Why are we here? We're here to do the work. So
It's
I don't
but
understand.
that's the bravery of the fight that we saw with Kamala Harris.
Mhm. Yeah,
So many of they just Black Americans just said, we're tired of putting ourselves on the line all the time. Step up, white people.
right.
Don't leave it to us
But then they
all
get
the
mad when you
time.
say that, though. They don't like that. Uh, they don't like that. Because I know on my channel I had one woman, well, more than one, but the one that I remember said, I love your channel, I love your work, but you a lot of times you refer to the 52% who voted for Trump, and I'm not among the 52%, so you're going to lose your white female voters if you do that. And I
Oh,
was like, bye,
oh.
bye.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
That's it.
Oh,
I just go
we
bippity
should.
bobbity boo and I hit the delete and that's it.
That's
Because if
it.
you're
Yeah.
that fragile, then I'm not for you. I'm not the one for you because
Yeah.
you can't handle what I'm trying to give you. And that's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you, let's see, I've not asked this question to see if he's demonic, but I did get a question from viewers. I do get that question all the time, is he the Antichrist? But I did get an interesting question the other day. Has he got demonic forces helping him?
But let me say this. First of all, on the Antichrist subject, I suspect that there are a lot of people in the neo-Christian movement who do believe that he is the Antichrist.
Mm,
And they
mm.
will support him because if you don't have the Antichrist, then Christ can't come again. So, as bad as he is, they'll tell themselves it hastens the coming of Christ. Of course, in my opinion,
Well, that's doing a deal with the
incorrect.
Lucifer. Yeah.
Now, does
Yeah.
he have, look,
Hey, Lucifer, help us get
help,
Jesus
yeah,
back.
yeah. I'm not, when I say he's demonic, I am not saying he is the devil because I think that there are, just as we are the hands and feet of God in this life, right? I think that the other realm has a lot of helpers as well, and I
Mm,
think he is one of the lieutenants. We'll just put it that way.
mm, mm.
He's a bad person. He is evil. We can feel sorry for him because of his upbringing, etc. But he's a bad seed. He just is.
Yeah. Look, he opened the gate.
Yeah.
At the very least, he opened the gateway to that realm and said, "Come on through."
Well, wait a minute. No, you know what? I take it back. No, he didn't. We opened the gate. We opened the gate and let him through. He just walked right through. We opened that gate.
Yeah. Yes, both happened. Yeah. Yes.
It's really
Yeah. Otherwise, how did he
right.
manifest?
We cannot otherize him to the extent that we advocate our own
Mm, mm,
responsibility in
mm,
this. And I'm
mm.
we like the royal we because I had nothing to do with it. I did,
No.
but the country opened the door and ushered him in, showed him
Yeah.
a seat in the house twice.
Yes, I do want to also say that those Americans who didn't vote for him, who stood up to be counted, have nothing to be ashamed of.
Oh,
Do
absolutely.
not let your self-worth drop because their self-worth has dropped.
Right. Right.
Maintain, chin up, head
Chin up.
up.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
All right.
And my country has the Trumpians too, so don't think we're immune
You
from it.
do Canada, and I love Canada. I've got a lot of friends in Canada, but they do too. They've got Trumpians uh, in Poiliev, the guy
Mm,
standing for PM on the conservative side. He's quite Trumpian. So what
mm.
are we looking at?
Let's look at whether or not he has demonic, whether or not, let's just do, is he demonic? I mean, really, I don't even know what that question is. Can you phrase that better?
No, no, wait. You had it. You said, um,
Does he have demonic
yeah,
forces
help.
helping
Yeah,
him?
yeah, yeah. That's right. Does he have demonic forces helping him?
Yeah.
Ted Cruz comes to mind, but I'll leave that alone.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got a president, a past president, and maybe again wrestling again with what the country's done in the past. Long
Okay.
white hair.
Okay. All right. Uh, all right. Okay. Okay. I love what I got because I'm not going to say that it's a yes or no answer, but I think it's very interesting. So, well, it kind of is a yes no answer. Here's what I think. First of all, the first card again is the mountain.
Yeah.
There are forces at work who do not want us to, second card, crossroads, choose another way to be than the way that we've
Mm.
been. There are forces that don't want that. In the center, I have the government, the White House, for sake of argument. And the last two cards, what is it really all about? Keeping back, holding back divine feminine energy.
Ah, so resonates with what I've got.
Let's see what you get.
The signifier cards of the guardrails have fallen, and the way to bring those guardrails back is to overcome your fear.
Hmm.
Okay, that's very much like the story that I told about the black hand
Yeah,
choking me.
they're listening to our conversation and they're
Yeah,
out in the cards.
the disunity, the competitiveness, the pulling against each other is at the foundation of the reading. See, these are all energies that let negative stuff in. The past is the Seven of Cups reversed, which means there's something that's happened in the near past that is going to change this. So, again, we talked a lot about stepping forward, fighting, people power, stuff like that. It's already manifesting. So
Hmm.
there's your hope. It's already, that energy is already manifesting. The almighty dollar is at the
Absolutely.
is in the reading, but the potential is also for, I mean, the pentacles are not just about finances, dollars. They're about your security. And so there's a new seed being planted around security. It's only a potential at this time. His cult, the lovers card, the duality within his nature,
Hmm.
um, the love, the hate. There's something around at an emotional level that again is responsible for this energy. Now here's the divine femme, well, she represents self-nurturing, nurturing of others, but but the atmosphere around is one of loss.
Yeah,
And so we've got to get back to these, I'm going to say, emotions and beliefs and values. We can't let them slide because that, again, is the way to fight back.
that's right.
Pluto in Aquarius, Aquarius is a humanitarian sign. The harder and more brutal people become, that has to be met with traditional equality and inclusion
Right,
and diversity stuff at its core.
right.
And as your Hakim Jeffries said, this is what America was founded on. You can muddy them, and this is what he's doing
Yeah,
at a spiritual, emotional sense to make it easier for him to take power.
That's
That
right.
is the stuff that people can't work out with him.
Hmm.
It's operating at that level.
That's
And
right.
so Democrats must fight back at that level too.
That's
It's
right.
not just about saying you're going to get your dollars back. It's about saying lift up your fellow human being. Do not discard them. Um, oh wow, thank you, Spirit. Um, Hopes and Fears is the Princess of Cups, and that's something being withheld. Again, they're trying to get information sources, stop and block them as a way
Yeah.
of blocking Americans' ability to have empathy and for their they're operating. This is so Machiavellian is not even the right word.
No,
This
it's
is
not
so
even. It's
evil,
demonic. Yes. It's
evil that it's happening on these levels. Now, the outcome cards is the hermit with is reversed. That means isolation. People are moving away from him. It's not very nice being around people like this. Our natures are not like this. Yes, the
no,
worst
we're
are,
not.
but at our very, even the most hardened of criminal can find redemption. So
Hmm.
we don't want to be around this, but this seed isn't planted yet.
Not yet.
It's planted yet. We have to go back to the past and come to terms with the past before, and we will claw it back. This is in the outcome cards. We will claw it back. It's through these having a lot of power at the moment, but this is a start. This is also young people coming
Right.
back and helping in this fight. Not it's not being left just to us.
No,
And
right.
it's interesting, when you see people migrate over to Red Note and things like that, and it's go, oh gosh, the Chinese people aren't terrible after all.
Mm.
Some of them are having really good lives. Like there's a lot of enlightenment, a lot of people will throw that back at me and say, Chinese people are evil. I don't believe that. Australia has a different relationship with China. They're our major trading partner. We have sister city relationships with them. We have Chinese peace and healing gardens dotted
I've
around the
been
place.
twice. I've been twice to China. Yeah.
11% of Sydney's population, or almost 11%, are Chinese. We have Chinatown in Sydney. We don't have that same fear of China
Hmm.
because it's been drilled into you to have. People talk about the injustices of the Chinese. Yes, let's talk about Australian injustices. Let's
Exactly.
talk about American injustices. Oh, but they're going to harvest our data. Well, let's talk about Mark Zuckerberg and Cambridge Analytica. Let's talk about, espionage, spying. Let's talk about that.
You mentioned in your book, I thought this was interesting, this idea of uh, Russia being a force for good in the world.
hmm,
And I was said to my partner last, I mean, obviously right now with Putin
eventually.
there, but I said to my partner last night, I said, there are two things that I think about Russia. On the one hand, it is elemental and there's a savageness there. On the other hand, there is a deep spirituality
Hmm,
among people of Russia. So
hmm.
it'll be very interesting to see what happens with them and how long Putin lasts and where they
Hmm.
go after Putin because they've got, as big a crucible that they're in as we do.
Yeah, well, geopolitically, Russia has the kind of model that Musk and 47 want in America. They call it a modern day communism. This is why I have to laugh when I get rude people emailing me and threatening me and calling me a Marxist, bitch, and all of that. Um, that's the system that they want, the oligarchy and then that feudal serf type system. And Russia, that's failing now in Russia because of Putin's autocracy is wrecking their economy, and they're now parts of Siberia are actually insurgent against Putin right now. We don't know, we don't get that news, but they are. Siberian people are fighting in Ukraine's army, for example. Putin's facing huge problems of his own. Trump hasn't taken on. Trump hasn't allied with Putin because he senses weakness within Putin.
Yeah,
Trump is scared of China.
yeah,
Trump
China.
worries
Mhm.
about China. You know, the biggest bully in the pond, but he sees weakness in Putin, and so that's why you're not seeing him completely capitulate on Ukraine. Um, if the in a way, what he's doing is, I hope he's not listening, but he's aiding the Russian rebellion
Right.
that will overthrow Putin. They're not going to want the same oligarchical system back
We've
again.
we've got no, that's not. That's right.
So it is, you know, as we move on and Putin goes, we'll see again another world like change coming through. And this is what I hope will permeate down. And
Well,
yeah, and
hopefully
your
it'll be
country.
the word that you use. It'll be a renaissance. Uh,
Yes. So demonic forces, absolutely. He's
absolutely.
operating in a demonic way.
Yeah.
God, if people can just break through that barrier and understand that the energy that he's throwing at is spiritual rather than not spiritual, but is negative in a spiritual sense, and fight back on the spiritual plane, it's going to be helpful at the very least for them. So I hope to goodness the Democratic people in Congress start to think about the way that he's operating on that level, that very negative. I don't even know. What word would you use? What words would you use there? Trying to turn person against person. Like it's not just divisive, that's not the right word.
No.
It's
And I'm
he's
good with words too, and I can't come up with a word for what
you
he's.
know, attacking people's humanity, attacking them at a humanitarian,
Well, that's why I brought up that book *Sapiens* that I'm going to send you, because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
this
Yeah.
guy makes the case that we are primates.
Mm.
We are, at our core, we are primates.
Uh-huh.
But the good news is that we also, and you talk about this, we
Mm.
that we have higher angels whom we can
Yeah,
listen to.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
where we're being brought down to is we're being called back to our primate self. The primate
Mm.
self is the one that says, it's all mine, and screw you, and matter of fact, let me destroy you. But we are lucky because we have self-reflective abilities and we
Yeah.
have higher
Mm.
angels.
The hermit, yeah.
So,
Yes.
so that's where we need to be turning our attention and the attention of other people too. Instead of this, it's not an inevitability that we will descend back, blow ourselves up to the back past
Mm,
the
mm,
Stone
mm,
Age and be primates all over again. We don't
mm,
have to do
mm,
that if we don't
mm.
choose to do that.
Thank you. That's humanitarian energy again,
Mhm.
because we didn't evolve from being in that descended state. We had to evolve through using that higher mind.
Right. And we have
So
that higher mind. And I think
that's
a
it.
lot of people have let their higher mind atrophy, but just because it's atrophied, it's a muscle. So
Mm.
think of it as an atrophied muscle. Well, I have my treadmill back there. Work it out. Like, walk,
That's it.
strengthen
That's
it.
it. And for you and me and every other reader, make sure, I was only thinking this the other day, it's time we got back to basic spiritual practices. If we're going to do this work, clean up your own yard,
Absolutely.
meditate, uh, put the protection things up, start envisaging the world as we want, use that powerful ability that we have to move that arc a little bit
That's right.
further.
Because the temptation is even, the people who in the readers and the magical community is to, again, you feel that primate pull. So then you become competitive with other readers. That's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's a waste of time. And it's that call towards the primate. No,
Yes.
we have a choice. We can move towards the call of our better angels.
Yes, yeah. I can't deal with that sort of energy. It's why I'm such a
Mm,
lone wolf.
I
Always have been a
do.
lone wolf because I can't deal with it. On so many times when I do, I just get I've been worked over pretty terribly in my lifetime. So I just prefer, it's probably a lesson, an ongoing lesson. I'm a work in progress, something I've got to learn how to handle a lot better than I do. Um, but having said that, yes, that's that energy. We've got to get beyond. Can't be lone wolves. We actually have
Well, you
to
know what?
come
I have
together.
loved talking to you. I felt the
Yeah, thank
click
you.
immediately. As soon as I saw you, I was like, okay, this is going to be good. And I hope we do it again, Maryann.
Yeah,
I'd love to have these conversations um,
yes.
with you because I think it's important for people to hear us talk like this.
I,
It gives them
I I would like you to interview you on Random Sage. I'll get back
love
to you
to.
on that if you would
Okay.
like, because I want to know about what it's like for Black Americans right now with all this DEI stuff. What's actually going on, and what are some of the ways that you are fighting back, that you are preserving your self-worth, that you are, some of those
You
things,
know
and
what the
even
you know what the acronym that's not an acronym, but the adage that we're using is we're we're drinking our water and minding our business. What
yeah,
we say.
yeah.
Drinking our water and minding our business because all of this we foresaw. We this is not news to any of us.
Yeah. That's one of the great tragedies of the election, isn't it?
Mhm.
That the motivation and everyone put everything on the line.
Yeah.
That's a bit, yeah, that's mm. Let's talk how about, yeah, what happens from here on in.
All right.
Let's
Sounds
keep
good.
talking.
All right. I have kept you so long. Do you know what time it is? It's like, well, here, 5:05. So we've been on for more than an hour. And
Oh well.
the time
Yeah.
flew, and I
Yeah.
really look forward to talking to you again. This has been
Yeah.
terrific.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank
And
you so
please,
much.
please look after yourself where you are. I know it's a battleground. Please be safe, be careful. And I will start doing this stuff for the people who need it. Okay.
Thank you. We
All right.
appreciate that. Well, listen, you all, I know this was a surprise, and I know you're thrilled to see Maryann. And so thank you for joining us for another Sunday conversation, and I'll see you during the week. Take care.